This is Zettelcast, brought to you by readers, writers, thinkers, and teachers from LiLLiPub, along with our partners in thought, our Zettelcastans. In this show, we share discoveries that our Zettelcastans have shown us.
There you go.
And compare notes on how we're using this marvelous invention in our creative work. Thank you for joining us.
All right, Brooke.
Let's do it again.
All right.
Episode 78. The Meaning of Risk in Lydian Society.
Welcome to the Zettelcast. This is episode number 78. I'm your host today, Kathleen Spracklin, and we're exploring what risk looks like from the point of view of the characters in our story. Are they risk takers? Are they risk averse? What do they risk, and what does risk feel like for them? So we're going to be sharing possibly some story cards or maybe some story snippets, whatever people want to bring to share, or maybe just thoughts on how the people in our story might view risk. Who would like to get us started?
Well, I have a couple of things that I could start with. One of them talks about the overall population of the people in the world of Roanoke, and then one is more personal. So the one at the overall population, I've got plot modeling via our friend. The Roanoke people, the players of this game, they were invited to play. Now that they are experiencing life in this world where they're cut off from their home planet, one thing that might happen is that they become ever more insular. And they lose touch with their human roots and renders themselves less capable of connecting with humanity if and when this separation from the rest of humanity ends. So that's they might do that. On the other hand, they might live in a past preserved under glass and miss clues that might help them out of their predicament and miss the full range of experience available to them here and now. So that's, there's lots of story potential there. And we can see, for example, that things like the henge exist to try to help people protect themselves from becoming more insular. And but since those are the things that are known knowns, it's a safety place. So that could throw them into this life preserved under glass. And I think we might find people whose lives revolve around the henge. There might be some people like that who just the only thing worth knowing is history. So there's that. Should we talk about, just open that up before I get to the more personal one?
Sure. Sure. So you're talking about how it might work for the characters as a population group.
Yes.
And I can certainly see that. And people could certainly place themselves in certain categories, within that group, because it's not going to be group think. Everybody isn't going to have the same attitude. And
Correct.
I'm thinking the younger people are likely to have quite a different attitude compared to the group, the game players who actually came from Earth, whereas their offspring who were born on the planet, might have a completely different view. They might be, that's Grandma and Grandpa, whom I never met, that's their life preserved in the henge as my parents remember them.
Yeah.
But Hey, my life is now here.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And like anywhere, the younger generation looks at the older generation as hopelessly old-fashioned.
Yes.
Yeah, hopelessly yesterday. Um, mm,
Yeah, that speaks to the first card that I wrote, which was kind of echoing what Julianne said, but for me, looking at the world through Alex's eyes, she is one of the younger people, and she has a deep curiosity about this world that she's observing, but she doesn't really have a deep connection per se. So for her, in my mind, her arc, if you will, is learning to find and foster some kind of toehold so that she learns to trust this world, this reality, because she's just very I don't know if sheltered is the right word, but kind of sequestered away and kind of looks at things just not trusting anything really. And because of her age, she certainly doesn't trust the old folks because she's like, yeah, whatever. So, I kind of see her as trying to find her way. And then the upshot of that, like the stakes, if you want to talk traditional story form, the stakes for her are either she remains this suspicious, kind of isolated, not evolved person. Those are all of the sad things about if she doesn't go down this road and make her connection with Javi and begin to maybe put a toe in trusting that there's something of value here, there's something that I can learn here. And I think that's going to lead her to recognizing how she can make some kind of a contribution. So in terms of her change, she goes from, kind of young and on the dole to the other side of it, which is recognizing that not only does she have some kind of worth, but that she has something to contribute. And that's what's driving her is the things that she's naturally starting to wonder about and wanting to ask questions about. It's driving her towards this realization that not only does she get it, but that she has something of value to offer.
Yeah. Who doesn't relate to that?
Yeah. It's the risk of unfulfilled potential, if I had to put it in a elevator pitch.
Yeah. Well, that I think plays well with my other card that's more on the personal level. And I think that we'll see this in lots of different places. So what I have put here is dying of shame.
mm,
And this is a reference to a movie from the 90s called The Edge. It was written and directed by David Mamet. And the action takes place in a wilderness where the protagonist and other people that are with the protagonist are dealing with a Kodiak bear that's hunting them down.
that's
Their plane has crashed and they're in the wilderness. Early in that arc, the movie has a fine cast. Anthony Hopkins plays the protagonist. And there's a scene, this whole notion of dying of shame. The scene begins with the character played by Anthony Hopkins being praised by someone else for having previously handled a joke the night before that was kind of a joke on him. And it's referred to as an embarrassing moment.
Mm.
And he handled it well, according to this other person. Later in this scene, the protagonist paraphrases from a book he once read. He says, most people lost in the wilds, they die of shame. And the other person says, what do you mean? He says, they sit there thinking, what did I do wrong? How could I have gotten myself into this?
Mm.
They sit there and die because they didn't do the one thing which would have saved their lives. Thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I've already started to allude to this potential in some of the people who are in the group that are Jenna's parents and their friends that are called the sentries. And what the sentries are trying to do, they are operating under the premise that there are things they can learn about this world, about the game, even if the game never did begin.
Mm.
There are things that they can learn. And so what they're looking for are signals that point to something valuable. And there's a scene. I think it's I'm not sure that we read it here, but it's available for our subscribers. The scene is called Blue Blazes, and it's after a moment where something kind of wow, that was unusual happens, and all the sentries called Blue Blazes, which is just my own reference to what in Blue Blazes just happened, right? So they call it Blue Blazes, and they're trying to, they get in a scrum and they're trying to figure out what it is, and all their children are like, ooh, Blue Blazes, because they already have seen many instances of Blue Blazes being called where, one thing that's referenced is Howie's suspicious cracks in the sidewalk, right? So being seen as ridiculous to the people that you are responsible for raising is one risk there that they deal with.
Oh, very good.
I have this character who had this hair-raising experience when she went to the henge. She saw this sign that said weird science and opened the door, and she saw all of these, what they used to call it, 90 million? No, 70, 55,000. Well, anyway, the millions, the billions of possibilities that or paths that she could follow. And the last we saw of her, she was stumbling out of the hinge, and the experience had her just on her behind, just devastated. And we open up now and see her, and she doesn't know what to do except if she goes one way or the other way or this way. She's afraid of losing her curiosity, though. She's afraid of losing. She wants to make a move. She wants to do something definitive, but she doesn't know what to do to have faith in the choice that she might make.
Yeah.
She doesn't she is so confused, and she's looking around wondering, what next step can she take that can basically ease her soul.
Mm-hmm.
Ease her soul, because it's not she she recognizes one true fact. She got to do something.
Yeah.
She's got to do something. But what is that? And what is it? Why is it? Where is it? How does she get it done? So I have lots of more thoughts to think on that. And
What a great problem to have.
come out.
Yeah.
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 Plot modeling, baby.
Yep. 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 Yep.
I want that. I don't know. I think I need that on a tattoo or something. I have lots of thoughts to think on that. I feel like that's my MO right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that at her age too, she's at that age of just coming to the end of high school and knowing that these are some huge life altering decisions that have to be made at this time of life. I mean, they're not some trivial, you know, choice points for her.
Right.
She's well aware of it.
Yeah.
No, that's the burning thing. She can't even. Sometimes she has these stars on her ceiling in her bedroom, and she just looked at them all night.
Uh-huh.
She just looked at them, wondering, what is the real next step. So again, that's Miss Newberg. Miss Newberg has some developing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a couple of story cards, but the story cards are kind of spoilers for the little story. So I don't know how many of us brought little stories to share.
I did not.
Did anybody else? Okay, then I'll let my stories be the pivot point, and then I'll share my cards, and we can go on from there. And so, since we're dealing with risk, I've got two characters that are both very much uh, have relationships to risk. And as you probably know, my character Helen, who is one of the ones who came from Earth, and she came along for the ride, so to speak, because her husband Freddie was so eager to play the game. And he pretty much convinced her that she could have, it's just going to be a vacation, come on along, play the game, and, you can afford a few months away from home. Well, of course, we know that it turned into a few decades, and her kids are now close to grown. So she went back to work in the Hinge. She had a brief situation with Javi where they were exploring cards. They kind of got taken out of her hand, and she got relegated to a babysitting job, which she found actually fascinating because she loves kids. And she had a lovely experience in the Touch Me garden with just with little children exploring a place that felt like outside, although it was sheltered inside, that was just designed to respond to a little one's touch and handling, including picking flowers and being able to put them back, which sadly we can't do in our current life. We cannot bring them to our homes, enjoy them, and then set them back on the plant, continue whatever they will do. So this segment is called Risk Off, and it picks up with Helen in the Touch Me garden. But when Helen went to place the little flower back with its leaves, it whispered, "Don't go." And it melted Helen's heart. She was primed for it, watching the 2-year-old simply experiencing the Touch Me garden and opening her whole little self to whatever the garden offered. Helen had let herself live vicariously through the child, longing for such openness and freedom. And now, with those 2 little words, she was being offered a chance to be the child. "I can't," she whispered in reply as she placed the flower amidst its welcoming leaves. "I have a job. I'm on the clock." With that, it turned off, as though a switch on the wall had been flicked to turn off a light. The whole garden went still at once, and the velvety carpets became plain gray pathways that felt like cement under Helen's departing feet. To Helen, it felt like the sunflower again, only worse. She wanted to run back to the flower and have the chance again, even as her feet took her directly back to her cubicle in the hinge. What? She exclaimed almost out loud. It's lunchtime. I could have stayed.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Lunchtime. She could stay. Yeah, because she had
Well,
that
you've totally,
knee-jerk reaction there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So totally risk adverse that she couldn't risk compromising her, her performance on the job to have an experience that the Hinge Garden was ready to offer her. That might have enhanced her ability to serve in her very job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be rooting for Helen
Yeah. Yeah.
for whatever. We don't know what, I mean, I don't know what the Jenga block is going to be.
So we're going to counter that with another character, Teresita, who has been developmentally disabled and missed the moment of acquiring language and is now in her teens. And through watching Bala, the raw recordings of Bala from start to finish and his constant repetition, it happened for her that she acquired language even that late in life. And so she basically acquired her own language as though it were a foreign language and went from no language to one language. But talk about risk averse. Teresita has been so risk averse that her favorite place to perch in a novel situation was find a table she could crawl under or an open staircase she could crawl under. She liked to see what was going on, but she wanted to be hidden and not have anyone look at her. And where we last left her, she had made a Bezier belt in conjunction with Bala and had actually made Bala had been able to hear Bala giving her instructions that helped her make the belt. So and then where we left her off, she's standing up, she's trying it on, it's finished, and she encounters Jenna and Chris. And this is sort of mid scene at that moment. The moment of the encounter seemed to last forever. The world around her froze. She was captivated by the sight of a bee suspended in the air. She could see the veins in its wings, unflapping, yet not falling to the ground. She herself realized was frozen in motion in the midst of glancing at her belt, with thumb tucked under it and forefinger mid-caress. Yet her mind was liberated, and she somehow knew she could think as many thoughts as she needed to before she permitted the slightest twitch, which would set the world in motion again. Teresita? Bala? Ah, frozen but not alone. Bala, can I ask you something? Their conversation was deep, some in words, mostly raw, linked feelings. How alike they were, both living lives of confinement. Bala's on the ship, Teresita under some table or staircase like a hermit crab needing to find a shell. But now, nothing would ever be the same. They both realized it at the same time. How could they not? They were both practically thinking one shared thought. This was the moment. If Teresita could hold her own, they both had a chance for life. Teresita looked up from her belt and nodded again and said, Yes, I made this. Bala helped.
Yeah.
And so the cards on this one that was risk on, and I'll read hers first. Teresita, of course, has been risk averse her whole life, seeking not to be seen or even noticed, to the extent that she seeks to place herself where she can see and hear what's going on without participating. But now she has a motivation outside of herself. Her willingness to take this on might save Bala. She and Bala can be the comm link that will enable the ship to land. And so in one massive gulp, she has to discard everything that she ever thought she was in order to save Bala. And in order to save Bala from what she had imposed on herself, that she realizes now had never really been confining her.
Mm-hmm.
I am just having a whole epiphany of an overarching theme. Maybe everybody else knew this, but for some reason, this conversation has really cemented the contrast between isolation and connection and individualism versus collective. I've never seen them so starkly as this conversation is making me realize it's something that we all have in our characters in some way, but that hasn't really been fully developed as a thematic element necessarily. It's just evolved out of the project.
I agree. And without casting one as good and the other bad.
Right. They just are. Yeah. Or link versus not.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of undercurrent themes that are just growing out of the work, which is really cool. That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah. From a puzzler standpoint, for me, this began with vomiting the story treatment when we first began, where I imagined that there was this link in people's heads, and it was a combination of Chat GPT and Twitter, and it's not a nightmare.
Yeah.
What does that mean? The not a nightmare part. You have to look at what's the nightmare.
Yeah.
To understand what's the not a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it opens up into all sorts of investigations of otherness.
Yeah.
And self-protection and all these things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my card for Helen, Helen won't even risk being spoken to her by her supervisor. This is becoming a pattern for her. Has it been scaffolding on which she built her whole life? And at risk as confinement and confinement as structure. And now she has two scenes, the scene where she declined to hop on a pedal and ride the giant sunflower when the Vane was being an amusement park ride that day. And now this one, and she's just has the sense of tragedy, and perhaps the hope to link into another character's effigy that she's not a day late and a dollar short.
Yeah.
Right now, she's not opening her wallet.
Yeah. Yes. So there's something that going back kind of in a meta story, we are as authors of this story, and we're still doing zero drafting here.
Yeah.
We do not promise that the finished story will look anything like we've been sharing. But what you've just read out, Kathleen, that Helen came from Earth. And she raised children Well, when did she do that? The reader is not going to know that until the moment they know that. And the moment they know that is probably when her timeline intersects with Javi, and we realize, well, Javi's right now.
Uh-huh.
What's all this? What's all this thing about generations and generations who have been here? The reader now is going to know an amazing confusion that has taken hold of the planet. They literally don't know how long they've been there, and they think they've been there a lot longer than they have.
Uh-huh.
And so it's a spoiler, except they get to now take the view of rooting for the characters to figure it out, which is fun. You know, it's like farce, that narrative distance that you have with farce, and there will be some farcical elements with it.
As if Fugly wasn't farce enough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, well, who among these people knows? And who doesn't know?
Yeah.
And if they know, why aren't they saying?
Yeah. And is time the same for everyone?
Right. Not necessarily.
That's a good question.
And all these things are because we're story drafting, it's absolutely fine for us to just plonk something in there and plonk the alternative in there.
Mm-hmm.
And see how it shakes out. Mel, who will be rejoining us eventually, he has had to be away on personal business. He and I had a little talk about a story that I'll be drafting hopefully this week, where Jenna and Javi are going to meet.
Ah.
And he asked, well, when does this meeting happen with respect to what he's already shared about this weird behavior when, having scanned some of the cards from that Zettelcast, Helen is saying, well, that's not what it said. And he's saying, that's not what I remember that card saying either from the scan. And so why that matters is that he may become more averse to socializing with other people at that point. And Jenna's offer of, hey, you want to make some more friends? I hear, he might not jump at that. And we mutually concluded, either way, you can make something interesting. And it might be interesting just from a dramatic tension if he's already closed off and we're hoping that he opens up again, and then what would open him up again. But it could be either way. Is it easy for him because he came there fresh-faced and hoping to learn some things, or has he already started to get a little paranoid, having already come from a culture that's a little paranoid?
Yeah, and having had a paranoid thing happen with the cards.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He found the cards and he was exploring the cards, and they took them away.
Yeah.
And when Helen started exploring the cards, they took them away again.
Yeah.
That'll make you paranoid.
Yeah. It's got to be for bad motivations. Why are you keeping us in the dark, folks?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the whole zero drafting process, I mean, I can see why people just kind of do it endlessly, because there are 55,000, 70,000, 10 million, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, it's like getting marooned in research mode, which is very easy to do. You have to have goalposts or something to keep you placing the pins in the story as you go, or that's where the discipline part happens. But yeah, it's just too easy to stay stuck or marooned.
Yeah.
It's like before you write, the scene in your head is perfect. You know exactly what it means, you know exactly what happens, and it's perfect. And then you try to pin it to the page and it all goes bad. That's the craft, which is hard.
Yeah, that perfect turn of phrase that you had even the moment you put your pen on the paper,
Yeah.
by the time you've written the first three words, what was it?
Yeah.
Or it's
Yeah.
not as perfect as I thought it was.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
a little stinky.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
true.
the people caution against editing as you write.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that maybe the day I die will be the day I have learned how not to do that.
Oh,
Because I write and I edit and I write and I edit it, and it's not a fast
me
process.
too.
Oh.
Me too. I'm the same way. I can't says the writer, I can't not do that.
Well,
Because it's how I think. That's just part of how I process my thoughts, is I need to see a piece of it and tinker with that piece and then go to the next piece, and it's always bi-directional. It's how I think and it's how I write. And as I mentioned in the email I sent to my tribe yesterday, I need something visual. I need to be able to physically see my ideas in relation to each other. And that's another part of moving things around so that I can move forward. Otherwise, it just is too slippery. I'm just not the kind of person that's linear in that way.
the way I keep myself from doing it is start with the card, then with the pen, and only then with the typewriter, and then an edit.
That is what I think I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
Except I'm starting with the card, and I haven't written all of the moments that are going to happen between the beginning and end of that card, or that card and the ending card of the scene. And being a puzzler, I find a lot of stuff out in the pen on paper standpoint, and then in the typewriting edit on the computer is where I do it. Sometimes one choice of word over another just rings a different bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I comfort myself in a couple of ways. One is I'm doing this for fun.
Right.
And it is fun.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't have a publisher's advance and an editor's saying, when is it? When's it coming? And my co-authors they say, when is this coming or when is that coming? But it's always just a few steps ahead. And they're not necessarily expecting me to know the answer. It's just a question for us all, right? So that's one level of comfort, is like right now, who cares whether it's slow or not? But the other comfort is that I've discovered so much of the story just by doing it the way I do it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's a very astute observation, because I'm learning that different stories and different projects require different approaches.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that I'm learning. And where you are in a project sometimes requires a different approach. So rule number one is always give yourself grace and wide parameters, because just because it worked one way one time doesn't mean it's going to work for this thing. And just because you think you know where you're headed doesn't mean that it won't need to change. Like, you have to be willing, to veer out of your lane and try something different, especially if you're stuck or things aren't working. You have to be willing to consider other options and other approaches, or you just stay stuck.
Yeah.
Even if that's something weird, like when Kit edits her books, she chooses random pages at a time and only reads that one page. I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do it because I would be too worried about missing something because it's out of order. But those are the kinds of tools that you have to kind of lean into and say, okay, what's going to work for this? And I've learned, if I'm sitting here for 2 hours, forcing myself to keep my butt in the chair, staring at the same problem, you gotta move. Like, you gotta do something different. Everything off the desk, start over, put it on a big board. Sometimes you gotta upset the apple cart in order to find the apple. And I think we're learning as part of our process, not only of ourselves, but from each other. There's a lot of ways to do it, and you got to pick the one that works, and don't be afraid of trying a different one.
Yeah, I think I appear to be the only pantser in this group. And I was thinking that what is my process? And clocking it looks like I start typing. I start typing, and then read it. I type, read, and then go back and say, no, not that, this, and then through that process, something goes boing.
Yeah.
And then when the boing happens, that's when I switch to pen.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh.
So you play with your materials digitally for a time until the boing.
Until the boing. And when the boing happens, we're off to the races. That's it.
Yeah.
Love that.
Oh.
Bravo. You know what works for you for now. That's
yeah.
great.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have
I go back and forth.
I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My process when I've been stuck is make more cards.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I draw a lot. That's where plot modeling came from, because I needed to visualize it. So just like Deb, I might start off on a string, and type it out just so that I can see it in print. And that's when I go and draw things out so that I can make sense of them. So yeah, it's so interesting to discover your process, but then see when it's challenged. What do they say? No plan survives contact with the enemy. Double true for writing. Because every iteration, you have to evolve.
Recently, just last week, I pulled a Victoria sitting in the living room with a notebook.
Yeah.
And
best time ever.
And I knew the thing that I'm going to be writing next, in this scene that I talked about, was why the character Angie, who knows so much about the henge, needed an advisor to finish her effigy. So it was like Angie's bio and why she needed an advisor. And I wrote these 2 pages in the waiting room.
Wow.
And what I find that I have done, this is not the first time I've done it, but now, just kind of describing the process, starting with the perfect omniscient viewpoint answer to that. Like her telling her whole story as though she knows it beyond herself. And I've done this also with Sunny. Like, just say it all, including, and then figure out, all right, which are the little bits that we're going to reveal in this next scene. And it's like I've got a million scenes from those 6 pages. And so
Yeah.
what I do from there is I use an AI tool. I The name of that tool, for anybody who wants to know, is called VoicePal, but you could do it with anything. You just need to be able to read what you've written and then get it into a form that you can play around like Deb does. And so I have this same thing.
Huh?
I just read it out loud, and then I worked these into the things that sort of go together. And
Yeah.
I'm going to snip those things that sort of go together into cards rather than
Cool.
saying, okay, I must write out the card. What I'll be doing is certainly writing out the tagline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And that's been working for me.
Are you
That's
going to be
great.
using Scrivener's ability to store cards?
Not for that.
Okay.
I mean, the way that I mean, those cards are going to get into Scrivener, but that I'm not relying on that. What I'm relying on, scissors and tape.
Oh, okay.
I love it.
So, do I have some of these or other things?
This is great.
Yeah.
This is a whole other can of worms that we've opened, because too often, like when I taught the character development cards, which was a way just to get into the head and the life of your character. You know, those are sequential. You do one thing after the other, boom, 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 and you just create it. This is like collaging a character.
Yeah.
So you build out the pieces, like you said, you build them straight out just as it all comes out. And then you go in using the pieces, combining same with same, and
Yeah.
collage the character. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I'm just looking to see. Well, you can imagine. I mean, what can I say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But imagine that I have taken this little bit between here, and you can see I've printed it out no wider
Oh, then a
than what would
card.
fit on a card.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, very
Scissors,
good. Yeah.
tape.
Yeah. Fast, easy.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's when I describe building characters and I talk about create that collected list
Yeah.
and then divide up your list. Like, okay, tall, dark, and handsome. Okay, that's lame. Delete. Has a left arm tattoo sleeve. Okay, that's a key. You know, so you're sorting from all of your sources
Yeah.
the information. But I love how you're just doing it in one go, and then you're sorting all of your ideas for just this one person. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then choosing the reveals. That's even better.
Yeah.
That's a great way to build character-driven story. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are lots of things it's like, well, I could say this now, but I
Right.
could also wait.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
especially for this world. I mean, that may not serve a different story as well, but for this story, for this world, that's epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, since we're now at the top of the hour, I should probably be the one to say
Yeah.
where you can come if you want more information, if you want to participate in the discussion, if you want to play around in our world. When we aren't here in YouTube, we're playing around in LiLLiPub.org. So come on over and join us. You can participate in the story. You can make comments and suggestions in our Roanoke group. You can meet us in our other lives within LiLLiPub, see our postings, see the postings of your fellow Lilligans, play with Victoria's Experience Collection Cafe and see what everybody's writing and how the excitement is building for Victoria's book and how we're all getting exciting things from it. So do join us in LiLLiPub.org. And other than
Please
that,
do.
we'll see you next week.
Join us and stick your neck out.
Yeah, take a risk. There you go. Yeah.
Some of the people
We
who
don't
have
bite.
recently joined have done so, and they've joined the
Yeah.
fusion writing, and it's
Yeah.
better for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on
All
See
in.
you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.